Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire. Hare Krishna. Resuming our study of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, we are in the first canto, fifth chapter. Very important exchange of instructions. The spiritual master in the form of Narad Muni is giving instructions to Srila Vyasadeva. Having found the defects of his presentation in various scriptures, Narad Muni is now inspiring Vyasadeva to present bhakti as the most important and most valuable asset for the living entity in the human form of life to be free from the entanglement of repeated cycle of birth and death. We have discussed till 13th verse. We saw that Narad Muni is glorifying Vyasadeva because of his virtuous qualities. Anyone remembers those qualities? We were hearing about Lord Nityananda and then Gita. Now we come back to Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Okay, let us come to verse number 14. Let's begin. If anyone remembers, can share.
हरे कृष्णा।
बोलिए।
प्रभु जी, शुचिश्रवा,
वेरी गुड।
सत्यव्रता, एंड थर्ड इज धृतव्रता।
यस, इनका मतलब क्या है? बहुत अच्छा, बहुत अच्छा।
शुचिश्रवा इज यानी पवित्र हैं। सत्यव्रता इज ट्रुथफुल। धृतव्रता इज दृढ़। वो अभी उसने हर कार्य में दृढ़ है,
फिक्स्ड है। हाँ, संकल्प उनका दृढ़ है।
हाँ,
तो संकल्प से क्या होते हैं? च्युत नहीं होते हैं। बहुत अच्छा,
दृढ़ है।
So now from the 14th verse. So what Srila Narad Muni says? Tatanyata kiñcit vivakṣataḥ pṛthag dṛśas tat-kṛta-rūpa-nāmabhiḥ na karhicit kvāpi ca duḥsthitā matir labheta vātāhata-naur ivāspadam. So Narad Muni is saying, tatha anyata kiñcana yat vivakṣita. आपने अगर भक्ति के अलावा जो भी कुछ वर्णन किया है, क्या वर्णन कर दिया उन्होंने? क्या वर्णन किया था? What has he described? तथा अन्यथा किंचना यद विवक्षिता, which is पृथक दृश्यस tat-kṛta-rūpa-nāmabhiḥ, which is different. पृथक means which is different, and vision. Disha also means darshan, that is philosophy. tat-kṛta-rūpa-nāmabhiḥ, from the, which is different from the, Roop is the form, and Nāmabhiḥ is the names and the glories of the Supreme Lord. Anything which you have described, which is different or which is separate from the Supreme Personality of Godhead in terms of his name, in terms of his form, in terms of his glories. So what it does? Na karhicit kvāpi cha duḥsthitā matir. Duḥsthitā means that it will deviate, or it will simply make him to react. Let us see the translation, very strong translation. Whatever you desire to describe, that is separate in vision from the Lord. So Narad Muni is giving him a very serious warning that whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms and names to agitate the mind. What has Vyasadeva so far been focusing on? On the four Purusharthas. He had repeatedly described about dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, which had no connection with the Supreme Lord. So it is separate in vision. The word here is pṛthag, pṛthag dṛśas. Pṛthag means which is separate, which has no connection with the Supreme Lord. So here he is saying that whatever you desire to describe that is separate in vision from the Lord simply reacts with different forms and names to agitate the mind. And he is also giving one analogy, one example, that as the wind agitates the boat, which has no resting place. So in our mind, if any impression comes from outside, what it does, it has the same effect as the wind has the effect on the boat. So if you are journeying, if you are traveling in the boat, in the river, and if there is wind, then what is the result? It will impact. You will not be able to reach. If the wind is flowing in the opposite direction, then your journey will become delayed. Yes or no? Sometimes you fly also in the flight and you reach your destination a little early. And you find out from the airlines what is the reason, and they say that the wind was favorable. So your journey was concluded early. But if it takes more time because the wind was on the opposite side. So any carrier which is moving, the effect of wind is there. So simply in our mind, any impression that we take which is separate from the name, fame, glory of the Supreme Lord, what it will do? It will simply react. What will be the reaction? That it will agitate the mind. It's a very important principle Srila Narad Muni is giving. So very important that we should try not to hear from anyone or anything or meet such people who are non-Krishna conscious, because whatever they will speak, it will put an impression in our mind, which will agitate the mind and deviate us from our goal. So Vyasadeva is being pointed out by Narad Muni that this is the biggest defect that you have done. You have deliberately deviated the people from the real goal and purpose of human life, is to perform devotional service. Sri Vyasadeva is the editor of all descriptions of the Vedic literature, and thus he has described transcendental realization in different ways, namely by fruitive activities, which is karma, speculative knowledge, which is jnana, mystic power, which is yoga, and devotional service, which is bhakti. Besides that, in his various Puranas, he has recommended the worship of so many demigods in different forms and names. So this is the point which Narad Muni is saying, that whatever you have described, that is separate in vision from the simply with the Lord, what you have described, we have described a worship of so many demigods. The result is that people in general are puzzled how to fix their mind in the service of the Lord. They are not sure who the Lord is. They are considering the demigods to be the Supreme Lord. They are always disturbed about finding the real path of self-realization. Srila Narad Dev is stressing this particular defect in the Vedic literatures compiled by Vyasadeva, and thus he is trying to emphasize describing everything in relation with the Supreme Lord and no one else. So this is very important. Many times people criticize that why ISKCON people they are only talking about Krishna, not about any other incarnation or not about demigod. Why they are criticizing demigod? We are not criticizing demigod. It is the instruction of Narad Muni. Narad Muni is himself pointing out this defect. And if we do not apply this principle, then we will see we will only struggle. That is why we see even after claiming to be an ISKCON follower, people still, they worship secretly demigods. So how they can progress? Why? Because anything which is separate in vision from the Supreme Lord, which has not connection in this devotional service of the Supreme Lord, what it will do? It will simply agitate the mind. So this is a big defect which Narad Muni is pointing out in the presentation of Srila Vyasadeva. So similarly, in our practice also, it is being pointed out by Srila Narad Muni that if we are still maintaining this kind of demigod worship or some other form of worship, it will impede severely our path of progress or self-realization. In fact, there is nothing existent except the Lord. The Lord is manifested in different expansions. He is the root of the complete tree. He is the stomach of the complete body. So like we have big body, body has so many limbs, many more powerful limbs than the stomach. Hands are there, legs are there. These are all working senses. We perform all action through them. But we cannot feed the hand. We cannot feed the legs. The feeding is only to be done to the stomach, to the udara. And from there, the energy automatically flows. Similarly, if we serve or if we worship the Supreme Lord, everything else is taken care. There is no need of trying to do anything else. If you have watered the root, you all know the basic thing. If you have watered the root, then there is no need to water separately the branches, the leaves, the flowers, the fruits. There is no need. Even if you water all that, and if you fail to water the root, the tree will dry up and die. So this defect, Srila Narad Muni is again emphasizing. Pouring water on the root is the right process to water the tree as much as feeding the stomach supplies energy to all parts of the body. Therefore, Srila Vyasadeva should have not compiled any Puranas other than the Bhagavad Purana. What does this statement mean for us at our practical level? That Sri Vyasadeva should have not compiled any Purana other than the Bhagavad Purana. How many Puranas are there? How many Puranas are there? Yes, Ravindra Prabhu? Very simple, basic question.
Prabhuji, 18 Puranas are there.
18 Puranas. 17 are not required. Only one is required. So what does it mean for us as sadhakas, as aspirant? We need not need to think about or read or try to find out what these Puranas are. For us, there is only one Puran. And what is that Puran? It is Bhagavad Mahapuran. Or as Mahaprabhu says, it is the Amal Puran. There is no need. Very important, as we were discussing also with you today. Unless and until we become focused, there is no question of any progress. Krishna has already declared, Bhahushakahinantascha buddhyo avyavasayina. One who is many branched. Like people in in our society, in our country. Monday they will go to visit and worship Lord Shiva. Tuesday they will go to worship Hanumanji. Wednesday they will go somewhere else. Thursday they will go somewhere else. So they have different gods, different lords based on their day. But that is not the proper way. That will only agitate the mind. Very important, very powerful principle is being revealed through this verse. Because a slight deviation from that might create havoc for self-realization. Slight deviation can create havoc. I remember once my senior Prabhu gave me an example. Many times we travel by plane, and to travel by plane, there is a pathway in the space, in the air, there is a pathway. And even if there is slight deviation from that pathway, what will be the result? The flight which has taken off from Delhi to land at Kolkata may not go to Kolkata. It may reach somewhere else. It may reach Chennai or it may reach Mumbai. Even a slight deviation. You know that? Anyone? So similarly, why? Because this is the nature of our mind. रविंद्र प्रभु was asking me, ये माइंड में नेगेटिव चीज क्यों आता है? अरे वो बना ही ऐसे है, वो माया का बना हुआ है. उसकी पूरी जो nomenclature है वो पूरा चेंज करना होगा. कैसे? If we engage the mind, that is why Krishna is saying so many times in Bhagavad Gita, what to do? You engage the mind in my service. Maya sakta mana partha, maye mana dasava. Always Krishna is asking, man mana bhav man bhakto. Why? Because the mind has this tendency. The mind will take the negative. If you see in our life also, no? If there is any negative impression in the mind, how much we have to struggle to remove that impression? Actually, we are unable to remove that impression. That impression becomes everlasting. But what about good impressions? Huh? It is lost. We forget. It does not stay. So that is why here Śrīnād Muni is pointing out that why did you give all this? Where was the need? If a slight deviation can create such havoc, then what to speak of deliberate expansion of the separate ideas separate from the absolute truth, personality of Godhead? The most defective part of worshipping demigod is that it creates a definite conception of pantheism. Find out what is pantheism. Pantheism means that many gods. Pantheism is multiple. Just see the dictionary meaning. If I remember correctly, it is multiple gods or many gods. Believe in all gods or worshipping a large number of gods. Yeah, that is what we see in the Indian society. In pantheism, it's called pantheism. Ending disastrously in many religious sects, detrimental to the principles of the Bhagavatam. That is why Krishna has to say, Sarv dharmani parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. You give up all other religions. And Bhagavatam begins by dharma projito kaitavo atra parmo nirmas saranam satam. So all these religions are cheating religions. Prabhupada is saying here that the most defective part of worshipping demigods is that it creates a definite conception of pantheism, ending disastrously in many religious sects, detrimental to the progress of the principles of Bhagavatam, which alone can give the accurate direction for self-realization in eternal relation with the personality of Godhead by devotional service in transcendental love. Very beautiful statement. See what Prabhupada is. Everything is included here in this one sentence. Prabhupada is saying that the principles of the Bhagavatam, which alone can give accurate direction for self-realization in eternal relation with the personality of Godhead by devotional service in transcendental love. So Bhagavatam fulfills all these aspects in one stroke. It gives impetus to us for self-realization. It invokes our eternal relation with the personality of Godhead. It motivates us to perform devotional service. How? By developing love towards the Lord. The example of the boat disturbed by the whirling wind is suitable in this respect. The diverted mind of the pantheist can never reach the perfection of self-realization due to the disturbed condition of the selection of object. So object selection, or who is the object of worship, should be very clear. There should not have been any other object of worship apart from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vasudeva. That should have been never presented by Vyasadeva. If he has presented, so he has made people become bewildered and confused. And their mind will remain always ever disturbed, agitated. So this defect, to rectify, Narad Muni is giving instructions to Srila Vyasadeva. Okay? So far clear? Should I go ahead with the next verse? Any question or any discussion on this? So we can see, we can extrapolate this to our practice, to what extent we have, taken exclusive worship of Krishna. Otherwise, the defect which is there with Vyasadeva, so what about us? It should not happen. Many times we face challenge also in our family members, in our elders, in our parents. What to say to them? They don't agree. They have their own understanding. So how to face that situation? Anyone has any experience would like to share? Or you have all become ananyas chintayantam? No one else. The exclusive worship of Krishna. No one is opening up. No one is speaking. I'll tell you my case. Every Deepavali I have to go to be with my parents. And on Deepavali day, what they do? They worship Lakshmi ji. But along with Lakshmi ji, Lakshmi and Ganesh, they also keep Hanuman ji. So I put focus on Hanuman ji and tell him that Lord Ram has returned to Ayodhya. So Hanuman ji is very happy. So whatever offering is to be given, I offer to Hanuman ji. So this I try, and my mother and all, they cannot make out what it is. They will only worship Lakshmi because they want Lakshmi. They give more importance to Lakshmi than Ram. This is what the entire India is doing. And I join late. I join very late and I leave early. So I'm not put into that situation where I'm forced to do all this. But what about deliberate? Deliberate is very dangerous. Very dangerous. And what Prabhupada says is at least one should be able to come to this platform of accepting Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Otherwise, it will never happen. Our mind will keep us in the confusion. And we should not hear from those people who are not exclusive devotees of Krishna, because by hearing from others, what is there in their heart, that impression will come in our heart also. Hare Krishna. Okay, I don't see any participation from your side.
प्रभु जी एक क्वेश्चन है प्रभु जी, जो फर्स्ट टू लाइंस Sri Vyasadeva is the editor of all description of the Vedic literature, and thus he has described transcendental realization by fruitive activities. How it is, Prabhuji, by fruitive activities? By transcendental realization.
Karma. Fruitive activities is karma. Na? So how the elevation is? Karma, one comes to nishkam karma. That elevation is there. Na? Bhagavad Gita is also Krishna is telling. This is how Krishna tells Arjuna. Hato va prapasi sarga, jitva va mokshase mahim. At least fight. Perform your duty. That even if you win, you get the unparalleled kingdom. Even if you die, You get the heavenly planet. So what is the loss? You have only gain. Now fight. Okay. समझ में आया? नहीं समझ में आया?
I got it, Prabhuji.
Yeah. Okay. Hare Krishna. Yes, Manoram Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, Srila Prabhupada in many in Bhagavad Gita also many places he mentions and quotes from Padma Puran. So is that speaking about mainly the Karma Kanda part or also some transcendental?
See, there are 18 Puranas. So Prabhupada quotes many times other Puranas also. But we need not go to those Puranas. For us, we should be very convinced that Bhagavad Mahapuran is sufficient for us. Where is the need to go to Padma Puran? Have we studied? Have we realized the Bhagavad Puran? Where is the need to go to other? Like you are working in your institute. Have you completed that you have to go to some other institute one day, the other day you have to go to some other institute? No, then you will not be able to do the service of your institute. So what is saying is, so anything you do which is separate in vision, dṛśas, yeah. So what it will do, it will simply cause a reaction. It will simply become a cause of deviation. Like the wind is impacting on the boat. So we should be very beware of it. And not think कि अरे मुझे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता है, मुझे तो पता है क्या फर्क पड़ता है. Okay. More important is that we should not be continuing this hidden form of demigod worship or any other lower form of worship, because it will not allow us to progress in Krishna consciousness. Okay? Hare Krishna. Move ahead. जुगप्सितं धर्म कृते अनुशासता स्वभावा रक्तस्य महान् व्यतिक्रमा यद यद्वक्यतो धर्म इति तरास्तितो न मन्यते तस्य निवारणं जना. So Narad Muni is explaining what is the condition or situation of people in general. That people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy. And you have encouraged them in the way, in the name of religion. What is the natural inclination of the people? Is to go to the heavenly planets to be able to enjoy more. And what you have done? You have presented the karma kand, how that they can go to the heavenly planets to enjoy. So you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned. Jugapshitam. Jugapshitam means it is condemned. Why? Because dharma krite anushasata. That in the name of religion, what have you instructed? You have instructed vyatikrama. Vyatikrama is that transgresses the principles. Because they are guided under your instruction, they will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Na manete tas nivaranam jana. Nivaranam is prohibition. This is what people want. Why people we struggle to get more devotees? Why people don't like to be told, "Ye mat karo." Like I met one person today, some of the devotees were there. pious fellow. He was one of the directors in one of the ministry. People are very much, inspired. He saw my kanthi mala and he said, I also want to wear this kanthi mala. So I said, very good, you want to wear, but there are some rules and regulations. If you wear tulsi as kanthi, as neck bead, then you have to take below the kant, it has to go down as prasad. You cannot take anything, you cannot eat chicken meat or onion garlic, because then you will be offending Tulsi Devi. And you have to chant Hare Krishna. The speech, the tongue, the voice that is coming out from the throat should be utilized for glorification of the Lord. So once you come to this platform, then you can wear kanthi, no problem. So then he said, no, I cannot do it now. It is not possible. So people in general are inclined for enjoyment. And what you have done in the name of religion, you have given them the full freedom to act in such a way as if for fruitive activities and for sense enjoyment, for sense gratification. So what you have done, you have pushed them deliberately in a condition of suffering. So this is a big defect. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable, because they are guided under your instruction. They will accept such activity in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibition. So no one wants prohibitions. Why? Because if they have prohibitions, then they cannot have freedom to do any nonsense that they want to do. Srila Vyasadeva compilation of different Vedic literatures on the basis of regulated performance of fruitive activities as depicted in the Mahabharata and other literature is condemned here with by Srila Narada. The human beings, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material energy. So this is the defect. That what we want to lord it over. Prabhupada says this phrase that they want to lord it over material nature. That means we want to become controllers. This controlling tendency is very deep-rooted. And why we are wanted to control? Because we want to enjoy. Or we want to become the proprietor. So they have no sense of the responsibility of human life. This human form of life is a chance to get out from the clutches of illusionary matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to Godhead, going back home. To revolve in the cycle of transmigration in a series of lives numbering 8,400,000 is an imprisoned life for the condemned conditioned souls. You go to any species, but everything remains the same. And the soul is captive. The soul remains imprisoned. The human form of life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life. And as such, the only occupation of the human being is to re-establish his lost relationship with God. This is what is the sole purpose. Under these circumstances, one should never be encouraged in making plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religion functions. This is what Prabhupada is very clearly writing. That one should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious functions. This we must very carefully note and observe. And we should not try to, many times be true, in festivals, in other occasions, what we are trying? We are trying to have sense enjoyment in the name of festival or religion or sense gratification. The Prabhupada is saying that should never be encouraged. It is not that we are preparing festival. Why? That we want to enjoy food. Festival है प्रभु, आज तो बड़ा feast होना चाहिए. No. Khichdi itself is a feast. So many times we are realizing. Khichdi is a feast. The spirit of enjoying the senses has to be curbed. Krishna has to be pleased. If Krishna is pleased, khichdi itself is a feast. Or we are going to places. Why we are going for yatra? To enjoyment. खाएंगे पिएंगे मौज करेंगे. No. So this is spirit of sense enjoyment, which is there by default in every conditioned soul, and we are no exception to it. One should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious function. So this principle must be strictly observed. And that is why we need to be in guidance. Because when we will shift from religious part to become, from spiritual part to become in this sense gratification part, we will never be able to detect or know. Very easily we can slip. It happens. It always happens. From the devotional platform, one glides down to the platform of sense gratification. And Prabhupada is saying here, it is to be strictly. And this is a defect, that in the name of the four Purusharth, this has been presented as dharma. Such diversions of the human energy result in a misguided civilization. Srila Vyasadeva, so today we have this misguided civilization. Kalo nashta drishamesha. Srila Vyasadeva, with the authority of Vedic explanation in the Mahabharata, etc., and his encouragement in sense enjoyment in some form or other is a great barrier for spiritual advancement, because the people in general will not agree to renounce material activities which hold them in material bondage. At a certain stage of human civilization, when such material activities in the name of religion, specifically sacrificing animals in the name of yajna, were too rampant, Lord incarnated himself as Buddha and declared the authority of Vedas in order, and decried the authority of Vedas in order to stop animal sacrifice in the name of religions. This was foreseen by Narada, and therefore he condemned such literatures. The flesh eaters still continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod or goddesses in the name of religion, because in some of the Vedic literatures, such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discourage flesh eating. But gradually, the purpose of such religious activities is forgotten and the slaughterhouse becomes prominent. This is because foolish materialistic men do not care to listen to others who are actually in the position to explain the Vedic rites. In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never attained by either by voluminous work or by accumulation of wealth. It's very important. Neither by voluminous work, which is jnana, or nor by accumulation of wealth, which is artha, or by increasing the population, but it is so attained only by renunciation. By renunciation, by vairagya. The materialistic men do not care to listen to such injunctions. According to them, the so-called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn their livelihood because of some corporal defects, or for family life. This is what the karmis think. In histories like the Mahabharata, of course, there are topics on transcendental subjects along with material topics. The Bhagavad Gita is there in Mahabharata. The whole idea of the Mahabharata culminates in the ultimate instruction of the Bhagavad Gita that one should relinquish all other engagements and should engage oneself solely and fully in surrendering unto the lotus feet of the Lord Shri Krishna. That is Sarvdharman Parityajya. But men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, and philanthropic activities mentioned in the Mahabharata than to the principal topic, namely the Bhagavad Gita. This compromising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narada. So we should never compromise. Who advises him to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relation with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay. A patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. You understand this? That a patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatable which are forbidden for him. समझते हैं ना कि किसी रोगी को अगर कोई गहरा रोग हो जाए तो उसको निदान करने के लिए उसी चीज से ठीक किया जाता है जिससे वो रोग हो जाता है. क्या एग्जाम्पल है? प्रभुपाद जी बहुत प्रोमिनेंटली एग्जाम्पल देते हैं. प्रभुपाद अपने लेक्चर्स में इसको बहुत कोट करते हैं. बताइए. बोलो. नहीं सुना आप लोगों ने? Pranav, आप you have not heard about it?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, speak.
Sorry, Prabhuji, not coming. I don't know, Prabhuji.
Okay, Ravindra Prabhu.
प्रभु जी प्रभुपाद बोले कि जिसको जॉन्डिस है उसको शुगर कैंडी जो है कड़वा लगता है.
ठीक है, लेकिन रेमेडी क्या है?
रेमेडी जो वो कंटिन्यू थोड़ा थोड़ा वो एक्सेप्ट करेंगे वो बाद में हो जाके बीमारी ठीक हो जाती है.
और एक और ये तो पूरा सही एग्जाम्पल नहीं है, इसमें नहीं फिट बैठता है. प्रभुपाद गिव्स अनदर एग्जाम्पल. Jai Shri Prabhu, you don't remember? You have heard this example many times. Prabhupada writes in many purports, speaks many times in his lectures.
Prabhuji, just a little bit I remember. I think it is if you are having some problem with the milk product, then the same milk product like curd can help you to get over
Yeah.
that.
Yes, if you are having diarrhea, so you cannot drink milk because milk will intensify that disease. But if you take curd, then it will cure the disease. So the same example is given here. So the patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. Oh, sorry, this is not in that context. I have misquoted. Prabhupada is saying a patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. ना, जिस चीज के लिए मना करते हैं उस चीज खाने की इच्छा होती है. जो डायबिटीज के लोग हैं उनको बोलते हैं डोंट ईट स्वीट्स, बट व्हाट इज द प्रॉब्लम? उनको मीठा खाने को चाहिए, तभी तो डायबिटीज से स्ट्रगल कर रहे हैं, वरना डायबिटीज खत्म हो जाएगी. हाँ, जिसको जो चीज मना की जाती है दे आर इंक्लाइंड टू ईट इट. The expert physician does not make any compromise with the patient by allowing him to take partially what he should not take at all. Very important. तो प्रभुपाद जी बोल रहे हैं कि जो एक्सपर्ट फिजिशियन है, जो एक्सपर्ट डॉक्टर है, वो अपने पेशेंट को ऐसी कोई भी चीज जरा भी नहीं लेने देता जिससे उसका नुकसान होगा. Does not make any compromise. The patient is always willing to make compromise. Why? Because he has affinity or attachment to that. But the doctor does not make any compromise. So the physician here is being mentioned never makes any compromise. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that a man attached to fruitive work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-realization. This is sometimes applicable for those who are only dry empiric philosophers without spiritual realization. But for those who are in devotional line, should never be so advised. So those who are in devotional line, they should never ever get into any other section or any other path, because simply it will be the cause of becoming one's distraction, deviation, and degradation. It will only because the cause of, it will simply react in mind and leave the impression. Okay, I'll stop here. We'll discuss these two verses. Someone has anything to speak or add? Right, speak. So what Vyasadeva is being pointed out, that by your presentation you have encouraged people for fruitive activity. It is a big fault. You have fanned the enjoying tendency of people. You have encouraged them to continue doing that. So it is a big defect. Hare Krishna. Okay, if there is no contribution, then we will conclude. Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam ki jai, Śrīla Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. पुरुषोत्तम प्रभु, आप मुझे जरा 1 मिनट के लिए कॉल करना, और regarding travel.